we will discuss the unit number 4, Industrial Dispute Act 1947. The government passed this act in 1947. The main objective of the Industrial Dispute Act to settlement dispute between employer and worksman, and the originally employer and employer. There are some of the definitions and prevent the dispute and how to solve the dispute between employer and worker. These provisions are in the Industrial Dispute Act 1947. Now, the main feature of Industrial Dispute Act, the characteristic of Industrial Dispute Act, which are the objectives of the Industrial Dispute Act. The first, the promotion of measure, promotion to highlights, promotion of measure for securing and preserving amity and good relations. You know, most of the relation is necessary. Relation between workman and employer is necessary. It is a result to increase the productivity. Increase the productivity, then relation between the employer and workman, because workman is a base and all the works, all the objectives attained by the employer on the basis of workman. So, the relation between employer and workman is important part. Another feature of an investigation and settlement of industrial dispute between employers and employers. Not only dispute between sometimes there are more than two employers in industries. The dispute between two employers, and these acts provide to how to resolve, how to solve these problems between the employer and employer. Then this is the feature of the Industrial Dispute Act. Employers and employers, employer and workmen of, employer and workmen. Sometimes the dispute between the employer and workman, it is the first in first feature we already discussed. But sometimes the workman and workman, suppose there are 20 workmen of one team, suppose the another 15 team of team B, 15 workers in team B. Sometimes individual workers quarrel with each other. So, it is create the dispute in industry. It is called industrial dispute. Sometimes a lots of workers quarrel with each other with a union, and at that time the employer and workman, already workman and workman with a right of representations by registered trade. Now sometimes the dispute create in the industry. All this. Workers union, workers as a union federations, union federations and discuss with the employer by the federation is some of the representative selected by the union members, federation members, and the trade union of an association of employers. Meant it is called the trade union of employers. It is provided in the Industrial Dispute Act, and of a federation of association of employer is helpful to the settlement of the any dispute between the Industrial Act. So it is a main guideline or main feature of the Industrial Dispute Act. It is related why this act is passed in Parliament, passed by the government, because government also passed the act and the state government have a responsibility to implement. You know, prevention of illegal strike and lockouts. There are two words. In the next time, after 2 or 3 minutes. Prevention means remove illegal strike. Suppose you know in the recently the employees of banks already before the 1 or 2 days was on strike, but it is legal strike. Why? The bank employee gave a notice to the authority. We are going on the strike and so date. Then it is legal strike. Intimation is given to the particular authority. But some of the, goes on strike without noticing the employer, then it is called the illegal strike. Suppose some of the union discuss about the strike. We will go on strike on tomorrow. It is illegal strike. And illegal lockouts. Mind you, strike related to the employee, the strike related to the worker, and lockout related to the employer. Employer, without the permission, without the notice to the workman, never go for the lockout. In Gujarati, it is called strike means hartal and lockouts means talabandi. Then now another feature, relief to workmen in the matter of layoff and retrenchment. Then sometimes employer relieve the workmen. Relieve the workmen. Not relieve, but relieve the workmen in the matter of the so and so matter related with the individual workers. And retrenchment, layoff and retrenchment means it is a relief from the industry. In this case, the industrial dispute helps to the workers. How to solve, how to settle this dispute between employer and particular worker. Last, collective bargaining. Who have a authority to collecting bargaining? The union federation have a authority to collecting bargaining related to the salary, bonus, working conditions of the factory and other welfare activities or welfare facilities, just like the medical facilities, women facilities. In these cases, the shortage of this facility, each and every worker have a no time to contact the employer. But some of the representative of the trade union discuss with, meet to the employer, and a special meeting arranged by the employer and the representative of federations, and discuss these problems which are suffering by the workers. It is solved through the collecting bargaining, samuhik saudagiri. Next one. Now, definitions. There are 4 or 5 definitions in our syllabus. First is industries. What is the meaning of industry? We already discussed these industries as a manufacturing process in the Factory Act 1948. Industry means any business, mind well, industry means any business, not related with which type of business, but any business, trade. You know, the trade is a one type of industry. The big trade, small trade, trade means vyapar, but we are not considered the trade is industry. But as per the Industrial Dispute Act 1948, the trade is one type of industry undertaking, mind well, undertaking manufacturing or calling of employers, and includes any calling services. Services is given to the some of the workers. Employment, those employer who gives the employment is a part of industry. It includes the handicraft of industrial occupations or vocation of workmen, means seasonal industries, permanent industries, then handicraft industries, various type of industries. You know, in the definition of manufacturing process, all these process is converted into industry. This is the first definition of industries. 4 marks allotted to this definition of industries in the university. Next one, the industrial dispute. What is the particular of industrial dispute? Audyogik Vivad. How to create? Which are the reasons? Right? The industrial dispute means any dispute of difference between, means there are some of the opinions about us, my opinion is different from you, then it is a one type of dispute between you and me. Then you know what is the dispute and in which the difference is in first employers and employer. This is the first one. First, dispute between employer and employee is a one part of, and it is at the place of premises, working premises, not in the road, not on the road. So, not in the family, but it is a working premises. It is what is the meaning of premises? It is already discussed in the Factory Act 1948. Then you know, between the employers and employer, there are 3 employers. Suppose the 3 partners in the firm, 2 partners is one side, 2 partners in other sides. Sorry, 1 partners in other sides. So employers and employer. then it is the important part. Means owners the create the dispute. There are 2 or 3 owners, suppose the 7 directors, dispute between them. Next is between the employers and workmen is a simple, then this definition is very important as per our syllabus. And you know, on 27th April, exam will be held by the university. Between workmen and workmen, there are 2 workers also create the dispute. Some take the sum of the work, other want to these same type of work, the quarrel between them, which is connected with, mind well, a simple dispute between the people is not a industrial dispute, but it is related to the employment. First is employment and non-employment. You know, some of the dispute between government and LRD students and the Sachivalaya students. Today the workers, means employment and non-employment, or the terms of employment, some of the terms and conditions mentioned in the workers appointment later. In these later, some of the conditions against the workers, suppose the working hours relating to the adults, working hours relating to the young person, and working hours relating to the female. The conditions also prepared by the top management. But in this time, you know, the totally non-employment of the terms of employment is a one type of dispute. If not agreed both the party, employer and workman are not agreed on the same thing, then in this case the dispute, it is called the industrial dispute, not family dispute. Right? Now, with the condition of labor of any person, some of the conditions relating to the labor, workman, labor, a various criteria classified in the industrial estate, in industry. So these are the related with the workman, supervisor, labor, which are the conditions. A particular person's also related with these conditions. This is the important part of the industrial dispute. Now workman, the definition of workman. What is the meaning of workman? This is the another definitions relating to this. Workman means any person. You know, workman always person. What is the meaning of person? Adult, young person, matured person, female. All these are called the person in relation to the Industrial Dispute Act. Elephant is not person. Elephant work in the circus, but Industrial Dispute Act 1947 not applied for the elephant, because it not include in the person. Person means including an apprentice. You know, some of the corporations, some of the government institutions, or some of the, just like the, you know, the UGVCL. I appoint the apprentice for 1 year or 2 year. LIC also appoint 1 or 2 year, 1 or 2 year, and give the training for a particular time. In this case, the authority appointed as a apprentice is called the workman, is the objective questions. Who are included in workers or workman? Any person, any female, on apprentice or permanent job, all of them, then is all of them. All are related with the Industrial Dispute Act, and all these called a workman. Another, employed in any industry, mind well, service industries, manufacturing industries, any type of industries. Suppose the GSRTC, ST Corporation, conductor and driver also a one type of the workman, and GSRT is a service industry. Service industries. Then you know, employed is any industry. Any industry employed a person is called the workman. To do any manual, mind well, manual work, you know, you go for the manual work, unskilled, skilled, semi-skilled, it improve, technical, operational, clerical or supervisory work. This line also classified, the work of the workman. What type of the work to do, what type of the work to do by the workman? Then first manual, then use and pen and paper is a manual. Unskilled, some of the workers are also work only and only labor work. Some having a special skill, designer, just like. Technical, the machine also handled by the some of the workers, and technically guideline to the subordinates. It is a one type of work. Operational parts, and clerical, some of the work done by the person as a accountant, as a storekeeper, as a clerk, then it is a clerical. All these type of the work include in works of workmen for the hire or reward. Means sometimes the hire or some of the reward, then collection is a workers for suppose the 5 years workers in teaching the visiting lecturer in our colleges, where the terms of employment be expressed or implied, mind well. As per the Industrial Dispute Act, some of the terms and conditions mentioned by the top authority. Sometimes it is in written, and sometimes it is implied. Implied means some conditions already expressed. Suppose the salary also mentioned in the appointment letter, but time is not mentioned, because it is also implied. ગર્ભિત એનો અર્થ થાય ગર્ભિત, અને એક્સપ્રેસ એટલે રિયલમાં જે ડાયરેક્ટલી જાણ કરી છે, લેખિત કે મૌખિક તે, અને કેટલીક વસ્તુ આ રીતે એ નક્કી કરાશે, જેને ગર્ભિત કહેવાય. નેક્સ્ટ ઇઝ એન્ડ ફોર ધ પર્પઝ ઓફ એની proceeding under this act in relations to an industrial dispute. Mind well, those workers, any dispute, those workers related with the dispute, any dispute increase or any dispute raised between the some of the people, some of the person, worker, employer, employer and employer, employer and worker, is a one type of proceeding. Related with this proceeding is called the workmen. Then workmen include and such person who has been dismissed. Those workers dismissed, you know, not dismiss means screwdriver, right? Dismiss means yes. Then dismiss, discharge or retreat, chutney, in connection with or as a consequence of that dispute. એના પરિણામો, કોઈ પણ dispute, any dispute raised by the workers, the authority have a lots of rights. First is dismiss the worker, labor or employee. Discharged from means at the level, transfer to the low level post. Transfer, demotion, that's yes, demotion is a one type of work done by the type authority. Next is, it is a consequence, then parinam. And retrenched, chutney. You know, before the corona, some of the companies retrenched the employees in USA, in India and various countries. Reduce. And sometimes the company also gives the some of the incentives in the voluntary retirement. In this case, it is a one type of workman. It is related. Some workers retired, but from the government. But retired employee is a worker of the government. Worker of the government. So it is a workman. Some of the workers discharged, dismissed, relieved from the industry, all these are called the workmen. Last, whose dismissal, discharge or retreatment has led to the dispute. Means, why these are dismissed? Why the worker discharged or retreat? Because of raise the dispute and there is no solution of the dispute. No solution of the dispute. Then it is a leader. Dispute is a leader, but does not include any such person. Means those persons who have a no relation with this above is not called a workman. Then workman means any person including or apprentice employed in any industry to do any manual unskilled same. Now overall the conclusion of workers. So what is the actual definition? Actual definition, which is already operational, clerical or supervisory work All the words are same. All the words are same. For a hire or reward where the terms of employment, the express or implied, all the parts of this discussion also compose in this definition, and then 4 marks allotted to these definitions, right? Industrial dispute include any person who has been dismissed, discharged or retrenched in connection with or as consequence of that dispute, or whose dismissal, discharge or retrenchment to the dispute, but does not include any person. Now another, strike and lockout. What is the strike? What is the meaning of strike and what is the meaning of lockout? It is, this definition is important. One from this and one from Workmen or industry. The main object of the act is to prevent the industrial dispute. Main object of the which are the objective of the industrial dispute? Then you know, industrial dispute and maintain industrial peace. Mind well, what is the first objective? Industrial peace, shanti. Strikes and lockout are the outward manifestation of industrial dispute, and provision of the act deal with illegal strike and illegal lockouts. It is already discussed in the first page, right? Next one, the strike and lockout. Strike according to this section 2G, if you remember. Strike is defined as follows. Strike means a cessation of work by body, person employed in any industries, by a refusal, nakarvu, or a refusal under a common undertakings, means bada bhega malina, right, of any number of person, means 1 members, 3 members or all members who are or have been employed to continue to work or accept the employment. Those persons who are appointed in the industries refuse the work, refuse the discussion, then it is a part of strike, right? Simple definition of lockout means the closing of a place of employment, means premises. Suppose Reliance lock out the premises at Jamnagar, it is part of employment place. The supervision of work. Sometimes the supervision of work is closed. The refusal by an employer means lockout by employer and strike by the workman. Employer to continue to employ any number of person employed by him. Here the discussion is